Imagine this. A young woman is sent to break up a marriage. What starts as a simple plan quickly turns into a tangled web of secrets, lies, and unexpected dreams. This is a story about betrayal, hope, and a shocking twist that'll make you question everything you thought you knew. Just when you think it's all over, bam! You won't believe what happens next. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Dropping a like and a comment is the least you can do to show some love. And like we always say, even if some stories seem the same, they ain't never the same when I'm the one telling them. The movie stars an old man named Henri, living alone in the quiet corners of Paris. Meanwhile, a girl named Constance, full of hope and frustration, is struggling through her 5th driving test and failing again. She helps her father in his small-town shop, but her heart's not in it. She dreams of Paris, of something more, but her father isn't ready to let her go, and the tension between them simmers. So Constance starts looking for a place to stay in the city, and that's how she meets Henri. Henri's memory slips more than it holds. His son, worried, has decided to rent out a room in Henri's old home, but Henri doesn't want a stranger in his space, especially not Constance. The moment she steps inside, she notices a piano in the corner, dusty, untouched, off limits. No one plays it, no one dares. Constance likes the charm of the house, but not the man. Henri's cold, distant. He throws excuses at her like darts, trying to push her away, and she gets it. He doesn't want her there, so she leaves. And just like that, the search for a new home, and maybe a new chapter, continues. She had an affair with a married man named Arthur. One day, while spending time with him, she learned she had finally found a room to rent in Henri's house. Her dream of living in Paris was about to come true, but Arthur didn't share her excitement. He was actually glad to see her go. A few days later, after saying goodbye to her mother and brother, Constance left for Paris. The moment she stepped inside Henri's house, she was handed a book filled with strict rules. The very first rule, no one was allowed to wear Henri's slippers. That night, Constance discovered something darker. Henri hated his daughter-in-law, Valérie. He told Constance, "She's crazy. She wants to put me in a nursing home." The house was full of secrets, and tension was just beginning to build. A few days later, sitting alone in the quiet house, Constance thought about the piano. She had learned to play as a child, but stopped long ago. The music called to her like a forgotten friend, but Henri didn't want her touching the keys. He told her to leave. No piano playing allowed. Still, Constance pushed back, convincing him to let her stay. The problem? She had no money for rent. After a long pause, Henri finally spoke. He didn't want money. Instead, he made a chilling deal. Constance had to break up Paul's marriage and trap him in her love. Constance recoiled inside. She didn't want any part of this. But Henri warned her, "Do this, and your 6 months' rent will be forgiven." Her dream home was turning into a trap she couldn't easily escape. Thinking about Henri's deal, Constance stepped out of the house and spotted a bar with a help-wanted sign. She told a boy named Matthew she needed the job, and just like that, she got it. The next morning, Paul, Henri's son, came to meet her. Paul knew his father spoke badly about him. He had brought medicine for Henri and hoped Constance would help care for him. Paul's father was growing weaker, and so was his patience. But as soon as Henri returned, he mocked Paul without mercy. Paul had no choice but to leave. Henri smiled to himself, happy that Constance was already trying to get close to Paul. In Henri's twisted game, no one was safe. From the next day, Constance started working at the bar. Alongside her studies, she tried to build a fragile friendship with Henri, but studying was never her strength, and worry gnawed at her. One evening, Henri invited Paul over. Constance cooked carefully, hoping to impress him. When Paul's wife Valérie arrived, Constance quickly saw why Henri despised her. Valérie was sharp and cold, a woman who ruled with an iron fist. So, it wasn't hard for Constance to step into Henri's plan. She began flirting with Paul, inching closer with every smile and word. Their shy conversations brought a rare light to Paul's eyes. In a house full of secrets, Constance was playing her part, and the stakes were rising fast. After a while, their talk turned to the old piano in Henri's house. That piano once belonged to Henri's wife, and he refused to sell it or let anyone touch the keys. This sparked a fierce argument between Henri and Paul. Then Henri asked Constance to play. As her fingers moved over the keys, the music filled the room. Henri's eyes welled with tears. Valérie saw this and assumed Henri hated the song, but Paul whispered, "He's crying because the song brought back memories of his wife." Valérie chatted about food, unaware of the deeper pain in the room. Paul, sensing the weight of it all, knew it was best to leave. In that moment, the piano song revealed more than anyone expected. It was a key to the past no one could escape. The next day, Constance went to college and saw her results. She had failed again. Tears burned her eyes as she turned to leave. She tried to distract herself, but the doubt crept in. Maybe she couldn't do anything right in life. A few days later, Valerie came to Henri's house to grab some utensils, but Constance fell sick and, to her horror, vomited on Valerie's things. She broke down in tears, right there in front of Henri and Valerie. Between sobs, she confessed her pain. She couldn't go back home, not to her father's shop, not to that life. In that broken moment, Constance was trapped, lost between a past she fled and a future she feared. At that moment, Henri told Constance, "You should do what you love." He knew she loved playing the piano. Constance revealed that a strict teacher at school had made her quit, and her father never supported her dreams. Urged by Henri and even Valerie, she sang a song she had written. For the first time, Henri praised her. Constance's heart lifted, but curiosity took hold. She asked about Henri's wife. Henri's voice grew heavy as he shared, "She died falling out of the window 30 years ago. I've been alone ever since." Constance laughed softly, trying to break the silence. Valerie, watching closely, guessed Constance liked Paul. Hearing this, Constance turned to Henri, ready to talk, but the house held more secrets than she knew. In that moment, hope and shadow danced in the same room. Henri believed Valerie stayed with Paul only for money, but Constance saw the truth. Valerie really loved him, so she refused Henri's plan and told him to let her leave the house. The next day, she went home, but found her room being turned into an office. Frustrated and cornered, she lied to her parents, saying she had passed and had to return to Paris. That very night, helpless, she returned to Henri's house. She had no choice but to play along, entertaining Paul to keep the plan alive. To move forward, Constance started asking Henri more about Paul, searching for a way out, or deeper in. Her freedom was slipping, one step closer to a trap she couldn't see yet. On one hand, Constance felt like she had lost all hope for a better life, but on the other, Henri surprised her. He began trying to enroll her in a music school. A few days later, Constance started following Paul, carefully drawing him closer. She asked Henri about Paul's likes and dislikes, and used every detail to her advantage. Slowly, Paul felt their tastes matched perfectly. He didn't see the act behind it all, and before he knew it, he started to like Constance. In a game of shadows and lies, Constance was the puppet and the puppeteer. As soon as she got the chance, Constance told Paul she wanted a relationship, but Paul saw the age difference and refused. Constance's heart twisted. She started to hate herself for this cruel game. Then Henri laid it out cold and clear. Once Paul falls for you, you stop. Your job is to break his marriage, nothing more. She wasn't just playing with hearts. She was trapped in a plan darker than she imagined. A few days later, Matthew told Constance he wanted to go on tour with her, but Constance wasn't listening. Her eyes were on Simon, a DJ who caught her attention. Seeing this, Matthew quietly walked away, his hope fading. Constance's new connection with Simon was just beginning. But then Paul surprised her. He told her he was starting to like her too. Now he wanted a real relationship. Suddenly, Constance was caught between two worlds, and no easy way out. Now Paul was chasing Constance. He went with her to the club where Matthew worked as a DJ. But there, Constance saw the truth. Simon had already forgotten her. On the way home, she told Paul her life felt broken, but Paul made her feel alive again. That night, he smiled, believing he had finally found Constance. Paul stayed out all night, and Valerie's worry grew. She saw the signs. Paul was cheating, and she found proof. Henri's plan worked perfectly. Valerie left the house, and the pieces fell exactly where Henri wanted. Even after 2 days, Paul didn't speak to Constance. One night, she learned Henri had applied for her at the London School of Music and had recommended her to a famous musician. Then, Paul came back to see her. Constance told him flatly, "Whatever happened between us, I want to forget it. I've found someone my own age now." Paul's heart broke. He had lost not just Valerie, but Constance too. Sometimes the hardest losses come not from enemies, but from the ones you thought would stay. Not only that, the next day Paul's lawyer called him to court. Valerie wanted a divorce. Everything was falling apart. Then Valerie called Paul that night with shocking news. She was pregnant. Suddenly their marriage was back on. But when Paul told Henri, his father didn't celebrate. Henri asked coldly if Paul planned to keep the child. Paul was crushed by his father's coldness. He snapped, "If you don't react better when she tells me this, I'll never speak to you again." Sometimes the hardest battles are fought not with strangers, but within your own family. Paul told Constance the news and said, "I'm happier now than I've ever been." Constance felt happy too, but one day, Paul's father found out she had failed her exam and called her back home. When Constance told Henri, he said, "A father should never take away his children's happiness." Yet Henri was doing just that to his own son. Constance called him out on it. At that moment, Henri stopped Constance from drinking and revealed the truth. His wife's death wasn't an accident. It was caused by alcohol. She fell from the building while drunk. Some wounds run deeper than anyone dares to speak. The next morning, Constance got ready to go home, but then Valerie and Paul came to see her. They all waited for Henri together. When Henri came back, Valerie told him about the baby on the way. Henri pretended to be happy for Paul, but deep down, he was struggling with all the drama. It was time for Constance to leave, and before she went, Henri told her, "Don't wait until you're old to chase your dreams." Hearing this, Constance went to her father and clearly said she would not go back home. She told him, "I want to be a musician, and that's why I will stay in Paris." At first, her father didn't listen, but then he realized that Constance was as stubborn as he was. Sometimes stubbornness is what drives us to follow our dreams. In the end, Henri's loneliness disappeared forever. For months, Constance stayed in the house, working hard day and night to prepare for her music exam. She even made her own song. When it was time to leave for London, Henri was sure Constance would succeed and supported her just like he used to support his wife. As soon as she arrived at the London School of Music, Constance prepared for her final exam and managed to pass several rounds. A few weeks later, Henri's death was reported. When Constance went home, Paul told her that Henri was happy in his last days because he had seen his grandson and watched Constance move toward success. Constance said she had failed the last round, but Paul handed her Henri's house to stay in Paris for a while. He also gave her a last letter from Henri, written just for Constance. In the letter, Henri said he had forgotten all his grief after meeting his grandson and advised Constance to never give up. With this advice, Constance began preparing for her next exam. What would you do if you were asked to break up a marriage, but ended up finding your own dreams and a life you never expected? Would you follow the plan or choose your own path no matter the cost? Drop a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I want to know how you'd handle this crazy twist.